Section 1. A New Hope, China's Peace Plan. The world watches with bated breath as China steps onto the global stage with a peace plan for Ukraine. This move marks a significant shift in the geopolitical landscape, as Beijing, often seen as a close ally of Moscow, now positions itself as a potential mediator in one of the most complex and contentious conflicts of our time. Beijing, often seen as sympathetic to Moscow, has called for a ceasefire and dialogue. This call for peace comes at a time when the world is desperate for a resolution to the ongoing conflict. The Chinese government has emphasized the importance of dialogue and negotiation, urging all parties involved to come to the table and discuss their differences in a constructive manner. This initiative follows a Swiss summit where diplomats grappled with the crisis. The summit, held in Geneva, brought together representatives from various countries, all of whom are deeply invested in finding a peaceful solution to the conflict. The discussions were intense and often heated, but they also laid the groundwork for future negotiations. The peace plan, while light on specifics, outlines China's vision for a negotiated settlement. The document emphasizes the need for mutual respect and understanding, and it calls for an immediate ceasefire to prevent further loss of life. While the plan does not provide a detailed roadmap for peace, it does offer a framework for future discussions. China's entry has been met with mixed reactions, some seeing it as a breakthrough, others with skepticism. Proponents of the plan argue that China's involvement could bring a fresh perspective to the negotiations, while critics worry that Beijing's close ties to Moscow could compromise its neutrality. The international community awaits concrete steps from Beijing. Many are hopeful that China will follow through on its promises and take an active role in facilitating dialogue between the warring parties. However, there are also concerns that the plan could be more about optics than substance. Proponents argue it represents a starting point for negotiations. They believe that even a tentative step towards peace is better than no step at all. The handshake between Chinese and Ukrainian diplomats symbolizes a willingness to engage in dialogue and work towards a peaceful resolution. The coming weeks will be crucial in determining whether this fragile hope can be transformed into lasting peace. The world will be watching closely to see if the parties involved can build on this initial momentum and make meaningful progress towards ending the conflict. The stakes are high, and the path to peace will undoubtedly be fraught with challenges, but there is a glimmer of hope that a resolution is within reach. The conflict in Ukraine has caused immense suffering and displacement, with millions of people affected by the violence. The international community has a moral obligation to support efforts towards peace and stability in the region. China's peace plan, while not perfect, represents a significant step in the right direction. The United Nations and other international organizations have expressed cautious optimism about China's peace plan. They recognize the potential for China to play a constructive role in the peace process, but they also stress the importance of a comprehensive and inclusive approach to negotiations. Public opinion is divided on China's peace plan. Some view it as a genuine effort to bring about peace, while others see it as a strategic move to enhance China's global influence. Regardless of the motivations behind the plan, it has sparked a renewed conversation about the need for a peaceful resolution to the conflict. As diplomats prepare for the next round of talks, there is a sense of cautious optimism in the air. The road to peace is long and uncertain, but the fact that discussions are taking place is a positive sign. The international community must continue to support and encourage these efforts, recognizing that peace is a collective responsibility. Ultimately, the goal of any peace plan is to create a better future for the people affected by the conflict. The children of Ukraine deserve to grow up in a world free from violence and fear. China's peace plan, if successful, could pave the way for a brighter and more peaceful future for all. Section 2. The Swiss Summit, a diplomatic tightrope walk. A high-stakes diplomatic summit unfolded in Geneva, Switzerland, bringing together representatives from Ukraine, Russia, France, and Germany. The Normandy format talks aimed to revive the stalled peace process. The summit underscored the urgency of the situation and the need for a negotiated settlement. Ukraine demanded Russia withdraw its troops, while Russia insisted on guarantees for Russian-speaking Ukrainians. Despite the lack of concrete progress, the summit kept the channels of communication open. The international community hopes this summit will lead to more substantive negotiations. The road to peace in Ukraine remains long and arduous. The world waits with cautious optimism, hoping that diplomacy will ultimately prevail. Section 3. Global Echoes. Support and skepticism for China's proposal. China's peace plan for Ukraine has elicited a mixture of cautious optimism and skepticism. Western powers have expressed reservations about the plan's lack of specifics. The United States questions China's neutrality, pointing to its support for Moscow. European nations remain wary of any proposal that would reward Russia's aggression. Countries in the global south have been more receptive to China's initiative. They argue that China is uniquely positioned to mediate between Russia and the West. The divergent reactions underscore the complexities of the Ukraine crisis. Section 4. Ukraine at the crossroads between hope and despair. Ukraine finds itself at a critical juncture, torn between hope and the harsh realities of war. The resilience of the Ukrainian people is unwavering, but the human cost continues to mount. As peace talks flicker with possibility, Ukrainians grapple with an uncertain future. Despite hardships, the Ukrainian spirit remains unbroken. The ongoing negotiations offer a glimmer of hope, but skepticism runs deep. Ukraine stands at a crossroads, caught between the desire for peace and the determination to resist aggression. Section 5. The West's Dilemma: Navigating Trust and Realpolitik. The Ukraine crisis has forced the West to balance principles of territorial integrity with realpolitik. The need to support Ukraine while averting a wider conflict with Russia has led to a complex web of sanctions, military aid, and diplomatic efforts. The West's response has been marked by unity and resolve. However, the economic fallout from the conflict has hit European nations hard. This has led to calls for a more conciliatory approach to Russia. The Ukraine crisis has exposed the limits of Western power. The West's ability to navigate this complex landscape will have profound consequences for the future of Europe. Section 6. Russia's calculus: victory, concessions, or protracted war. The initial blitzkrieg aimed at swift regime change has given way to a protracted war of attrition. The sanctions imposed by the West have taken a heavy toll on the Russian economy. The Kremlin now faces a difficult choice: pursue a decisive military victory or seek a negotiated settlement. The domestic situation in Russia adds another layer of complexity. The outcome of the conflict will have profound implications for Ukraine, Russia, and Europe. The world watches as the Kremlin weighs its options. Section 7. The view from Beijing: China's balancing act. The Ukraine conflict has presented China with both challenges and opportunities. Beijing has walked a diplomatic tightrope, refraining from explicitly condemning Russia's invasion. China's stance is driven by a complex calculus of economic and geopolitical interests. China has seized the opportunity to present itself as a responsible global power. This initiative allows China to project an image of neutrality. However, China's balancing act is fraught with risks. The outcome of the conflict will have significant implications for China's global ambitions. Section 8. The Turkish Gambit: Erdogan's high-wire diplomacy. Turkey has emerged as a significant player, leveraging its unique geopolitical position. President Erdogan has walked a tightrope between maintaining ties with both Russia and Ukraine. Turkey has condemned the invasion but refrained from imposing sanctions on Moscow. Erdogan has hosted talks between Russian and Ukrainian delegations. Turkey has provided Ukraine with military aid while deepening economic ties with Russia. Erdogan's high-wire diplomacy reflects Turkey's ambition to be a major player on the world stage. Section 9. A fragile hope: charting the path to peace. The international community continues to grapple with finding a path to peace. The key to unlocking a durable peace lies in addressing the security concerns of all parties. For Ukraine, this means ensuring its sovereignty and territorial integrity. For Russia, it involves obtaining security guarantees. The international community must play a constructive role in facilitating a negotiated settlement. The path to peace will be long and arduous, requiring patience and perseverance. The stakes are high for the future of Europe and the international order. Section 10. The Global Fallout: Reshaping the World Order. The war in Ukraine has accelerated geopolitical shifts and exposed fault lines. The conflict has exacerbated tensions between the West and Russia. It has highlighted the growing assertiveness of China. The economic fallout has disrupted supply chains and fueled inflation. The war has triggered a global energy crisis and a surge in defense spending. The conflict will have far-reaching consequences for global governance. Section 11. The stakes have never been higher. The war in Ukraine has exposed the fragility of the international order. The stakes have never been higher, as the specter of a wider conflict looms. The international community must forge a new path based on dialogue and diplomacy. The alternative is a descent into a new era of great power conflict. The war in Ukraine is a reminder that peace is a precious commodity. It is a call to action for leaders and citizens alike. The future of humanity may depend on our ability to learn the lessons of this conflict.